The weird story I have to share with you today is one that actually deserves way more time than I'm able to give to it today. I'm going to tell you about Jael. And in order to tell you about her, I have to start with Deborah, who also deserves way more time than just a brief mention in someone else's story. So I hope this weird story inspires you to learn more about these amazing women. Okay, so our story starts in chapter 4 of the book of Judges. This is the time in Israel's history between entering the promised land from Egypt until they had their first king. So during this time, judges are the leaders of the people. Our story today starts out with one such judge by the name of Deborah. We are told she's a prophet and a judge. She advises Barak, who is an Israeli military commander, to go to battle against the Canaanites. Now he says to her, he'll go, but only if she comes with him. So she agrees, but then she prophesies that the honor of defeating this army would then go to a woman. Okay, so long story short, they go to battle, the Israelites win, but in the chaos, the commander of the Canaanite army, Sisera, sneaks off. Sisera takes refuge with a clan that he has a peace treaty with. Specifically, he goes to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber. Now, I'm going to read you this next part straight from the Bible so you can get a sense of the story. Jael came out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Turn aside, my lord, turn aside to me, have no fear." So he turned aside to her into the tent, and she covered him with a rug. Then he said to her, "Please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty." So she opened a skin of milk and gave him a drink and covered him. He said to her, "Stand at the entrance of the tent, and if anybody comes and asks you, 'Is anyone here?' say no." But Jael, wife of Heber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand and went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until it went down into the ground. He was lying fast asleep from weariness, and he died. Then Barak came in pursuit of Sisera. Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man whom you are seeking." So he went into her tent, and there was Sisera, lying dead, with the tent peg in his temple. Now, I don't know about you, but this story leaves me with many questions. Like, why did Jael kill Sisera? Was she an Israeli sympathizer? Was it revenge? Was it just a political move? Where was her husband? Where was the rest of her clan? Did she drug him with the milk? Was he just so tired from battle? I have questions, people, questions. But the one thing I do know is that the whole next chapter, Judges 5, is Deborah and Barak singing out a whole song about the whole thing, as if they're in some sort of musical. It's very interesting. So the other thing I want to tell you about this, the other thing I enjoy about this story, is that it's in relatively recent use in our culture. It's used against the concept that has been termed biblical womanhood. You may have heard of this before. Biblical womanhood is a term that is used to describe traditional patriarchal views of gender roles that says that a woman should be, kind of submissive, quiet, a diligent homemaker, and obedient to men. Some are using the story of Jael to remind folks that there really isn't just one way of being a biblical woman. Instead, biblical womanhood can mean numerous things because the Bible is full of women who certainly don't all fit one mold or one docile mold. So today I want to end our weird story with a video clip from the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. I found this clip when I was looking for images to show you about Jael in this weird story. And I stumbled upon this video. It's super cool and super interesting. So take a look, and I'll see you next time for more weird stories from the Bible.
Hi, I'm Amy with Museum of the Bible. We're here on the history floor, and it is Women's History Month. I wanted to point out to you one spectacular woman that's featured on the front cover of one of our Bibles here on the history floor. It's a Luther New Testament that's displayed closed, so you can actually see the image that's on the front of it. This image talks about a scene from Judges 4 and 5, which talks about the woman named Jael, or Jael as she would be called. She was the wife of Heber the Kenite, who was a sympathizer to the Canaanite army. And the Canaanite army was in a war with Israel. The general of the Canaanite army, Cicero, he realizes he's being defeated by the Israelite army, and he runs away to the home of Heber the Kenite, where he meets Jael. And in this scene on the Bible, you see Jael taking a tent peg and ramming it into the head of Cicero. Because she lures him into her tent, she gets him to fall asleep, and she, being a sympathizer of Israel, decides she's going to finish this war for them by killing the general of the Canaanite army. She does so by getting him to fall asleep and then killing him with a tent peg to the head. Really a strange image to have on the front of a Bible. Not something that we see very often. And when we first encountered this, we were starting to wonder who might have owned this particular Bible with that image on the front of it. One that's a very provocative, strong image of a woman killing a general from the biblical story of Judges. I can't imagine a man at this time in 1561 in France having that particular image commissioned for the front of the Bible. But a woman, a wealthy woman perhaps, might have. Here we have a controversial new translation of the Bible, a Luther New Testament, at a time when women were not often commissioning and buying their own personal Bibles, and the Bible is small too, so it would have been a personal Bible she had. And then to have that image on the front of it really makes me wonder that perhaps a woman might have commissioned this Bible, which makes it all the more special. In this particular story from Judges, in Judges 5, we have the prophet and warrior Deborah, who's another strong woman, singing a song about Jael and how she conquered for Israel by killing this general. So here in this particular story, we have two warrior, strong women defeating an army for helping the Israelites defeat this army. And it was likely owned by a woman at the time in medieval Europe, which was something that was much less common at the time. A really great story that you can come see here on the history floor.